Well, you might as well know him if you were here yesterday for the round table. But Leslie Holden is a researcher at Amsterdam Fashion Institute, where he has also been a head of design and head of postgraduate studies. Leslie has over 20 years experience in international higher education and is an expert in developing sustainable fashion curricula. Today, in his talk, Leslie will look towards the future-facing fashion education, which prepares students for an industry where digital clothing is a commonplace, and when people spend as much time on design or digital clothing as they do on physical garments. Please welcome to our stage Leslie Holden.
Good morning. The most important people are in the room. I'm so happy about that. The rest of them are outside still having coffee. Okay, so we are in very strange times. We live in very strange times, and something is very strange has happened to the PowerPoint here. How do we work this one out? Oh, here we go. Right. Let me see. Okay. So we live in very strange times, times of great changes and challenges in so many different ways. They say that we are on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. And with that, developments in previously disjointed fields such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, robotics, nanotechnology, biotechnology, 3D printing, are all starting to build and amplify one another. We are about to see a tsunami of digital technology coming towards us. And at the same time, there's a set of broader socioeconomic, geopolitical, and environmental issues taking place, each interacting in multiple directions and intensifying one another. As entire industries are adjusting and new ones are born, many occupations are undergoing fundamental transformation and therefore require new skill sets. So the fashion industry, like every other industry, is facing opportunities and threats and challenges precipitated by this disruptive new technology. Now, this disruption shall cause, in its time, unprecedented complexities for the Fashion Academy, for fashion education, as the industry will start to demand graduates with different kinds of skills, different skill sets than what we are currently educating them with. They say in 10 to 15 years' time, 30% of the jobs that we're training fashion designers for now will not exist. There'll be different kinds of jobs, and jobs which are digitally focused. 10 to 15 years' time is not a long time at all. It's so close. I can even remember 15 years ago. I had hair. It was really not a long time. And in general, fashion education hasn't even started to consider how they're going to rethink the business of educating students for these future professions. So one can argue that perhaps, as in the industry itself, there's never been a better time to rethink fashion education and to ensure that the fashion professionals of the future are educated with a mindset and the skills which are needed for tomorrow's industry. Already, one could say that there's a significant skills gap between the skills that fashion education is teaching students and the skills that industry actually wants. If you think about pattern cutting, in many ways that's gone by the board. Lots of colleges are not teaching their students really how to pattern cut anymore. And this is where many of the jobs are, and that's where the money is often as well. In the UK alone, there are over 4,000 fashion graduates a year. And you're lucky if there's 500 jobs for them. And if there's already a disconnect between what the industry wants and what fashion education gives or does, where do we start in working together, in collaborating to ensure a joined-up approach to the complexities that this tsunami is going to give us with this disruptive new technology? Now, I have to press this. Does this work? I have to go back a bit. How do I go back? That's it. So, what is the elephant in the room? Anybody guess? Anybody have a suggestion? All three of you? No? What a mess the fashion industry's in. I'm talking about how we're going to work together, how we're going to deal with disruptive new technologies, and the thing's in such a mess. Reputedly, the second biggest polluter on the planet, reputedly. Certainly up there. An old-fashioned business model trapped in a linear system of take, make, and waste. We can no longer, as I said yesterday, educate fashion students to perpetuate this old model. We have to educate other mindsets. We have to educate change makers to develop the necessary shifts that this education needs, that this industry needs. There is, of course, a lot of work already being done by lots of people in rethinking what the industry should be. I mean, there's a lot of talking here about it as well. And this is being influenced by a number of leading figures and leading organizations. And many education are taking a stance in this, but not enough. Still not enough. At the Copenhagen Fashion Summit last year, the key takeaway, I should have gone on one more slide. I'm terrible with that. You have to remind me when I don't do the slide. Protest. At the Copenhagen Fashion Summit last year, the key takeaway message was that the industry was far from sustainable. You know, all these people, thousands of people sitting in this big hall, paying lots of money, thinking they were so good coming to a sustainable conference, and they were told, you're not good enough. But I paid €800 to be here. You're still not good enough. The rate of progress of an industry towards an industry of good had in fact slowed down. And it's anticipated that there's no way it will reach the goals set for 2030 by the Sustainable Development Goals in the Paris Agreement. And overall, if the trend continues, the industry could be accounting for 25% of the carbon budget by 2050. 25% of the carbon budget for the whole planet by 2050. Ridiculous. It's a huge industry. In the past 15 years alone, global production of clothing has doubled to meet demand, with more than half of fast fashion ending up in landfill in less than a year. Doubled in 15 years. That's all your fault. But we all know these facts, don't we? I mean, I'm telling you nothing new. Maybe I'm giving you some figures you don't know, but you basically all know this. You know it's bad. But somehow it still goes on. We all know, but it still goes on. There is still far too much consumption. Oh, there's Primark. Nobody's looking. I'll just nip in and buy that T-shirt for €5. I know it's really bad, but I won't tell anybody. We're buying too many products. We're buying far too much product. We don't need them. We need to think of different approaches and different ways to deal with overconsumption. There's no one way, and there's no quick fix. Now, education, everything starts with education. Everything starts with me. Everything starts with education. And education needs to assert its position. It needs to help understand how we create these future fashion professionals who will make a decision and who will be change makers in the industry. It's our responsibility, education's responsibility. Now, if we accept that digital technology will be a shape-shifter and a game changer for the fashion industry, then we must accept that fashion education has to step up and play its part. And not only integrate teaching the necessary skills for fashion students, ensuring that they're educated with a mindset and to be change makers, embracing new technologies for their creative potential. We have to do all that, of course, but we also must ensure that we are focusing on the importance of embedding these technologies with human values shaped to enhance the common good and hence a sustainable future. So complicated. Plus, we have to educate as well at the same time. I remembered this time. Now, technologies such as AI are fast-moving, too fast to pin down in the slow building of the orthodox fashion curriculum. But AI is becoming part of the way we conduct business in every industry. Fashion is no exception. AI is being involved in all processes from design through to robotic manufacturing. AI is now in almost every segment of the fashion value chain. But as it continues to develop, it becomes more and more difficult to comprehend by non-technical followers. It's really complex how it works. Now, the McKinsey report of the state of fashion in 2018, so this is 2 years ago now, stated that 75% of fashion retailers were planning to invest in AI 2 years ago. And currently, 30% of activities in 60% of jobs across the industry, if you follow me, could be automated. That's a lot of jobs. A lot of people losing their jobs. My cards are all sticking together. I drop them all and get them all muddled up now. It will take some time to reskill the workforce, but it will happen. In 2017, I don't know if anybody remembers this, it was a long time ago in fashion terms, Amazon introduced an AI-designed collection. Anybody see that? And suddenly, there was a recognizable, clear threat. The role of the fashion designer could be obsolete. My God, all these jobs. April last year, an AI designer won second prize at the China International Fashion Design Innovation Competition, beating many of its human counterparts before a panel of 50 expert judges who didn't know it was AI. The designer, Deep Blue, said that although the collection was designed by deep learning, now, deep learning, I'm going to write this out exactly as I've written it. Deep learning is essentially the extensive study by a machine of a database of information to produce original designs. I wanted to get that one right. Now, the designers need to then filter out the results and cost and choose the preferences. That's what Deep Blue said. Now, the judges of this fashion competition were quoted as saying that, in their opinion, AI won't replace designers, but could instead handle repetitive tasks and reshape the ecosystem for those who lack design capabilities. Yeah, right, I'm sure about that. I'm really sure about that. And I'm really sure about that because of my own experience in the AI. Last March, so this time last year actually, and one of the reasons I wasn't at Worth last year because I was in San Francisco for work, and I also went to meet with a friend who is a director of the company Stitch Fix. Do people know Stitch Fix? Anybody know Stitch Fix? Okay, one. Great. Good. Well, not so good. You should all know Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix was a startup about 8 years ago by 4 geeks from Silicon Valley. And they wanted to start a data company. And they decided that the data company should also produce some kind of product. So they thought, what kind of product should we make? What's fabulous to make? Oh, let's make fashion. So they chose fashion, and they started working with AI in fashion. Now the company is worth over $2 billion, and it has 3.5 million customers across the States, and it's in Europe. It's like Corona, it's going everywhere. It's an online styling service where you fill in a profile on the internet. I like black. Well, today I'm wearing black. I like black. I'm a mature person of a certain age. This is my sizes, etc., etc. And then you tick a little box. I want a delivery once a week or once a month. And they send you a box which a stylist has put together. And then you take out the things that you want to keep, and you send back the things that you don't. And there's other companies doing this now as well. And then they adjust your profile and their data according to what you've bought and what you haven't bought, what you prefer. Now, everything is managed by AI. Everything. The profiles are considered, the styling decided, and there's no designer involved in any part of the process. Shock. The designers who are working there are data analysts. They've not trained for 3 or 4 years as fashion designers and then done a master's and then slogged their way to try and get jobs. 4,000 graduates, only 500 jobs, etc., etc. No, they're data analysts who work with data. I was fascinated, excited, shocked. The potential. And the questions like, how can this work? How can it possibly do that? But overall, what I was seeing was a flash of fashion future. One quite different than the current business model. A brave new world of ever-expanding and extending fast fashion. Scary. All done by computer. One of my students, bless her, well, she's graduated now. Don't know what she's doing. Probably working with AI. But where to start rethinking fashion education? What to let go of in the standard orthodox curriculum? How to make space to teach 3D virtual prototyping, AI, AR, VR, MR, all these other abbreviations. Many fashion schools are still struggling how to embrace sustainability in their curriculum. Shock. And it's true. Because maybe a lack of know-how from the teaching staff, maybe a lack of interest by the teaching staff because most of them haven't done it before, or when they were working in the industry, it wasn't important. Maybe a lack of priority in the curriculum because there's so much else to do. Maybe a lack of interest in the students even because these students have been sold this promise by this course that they're going to be famous one day and they're going to be on a catwalk and they're going to be the next Alexander McQueen and it's all glamour and glory. And there's nothing said about the fact that there's no jobs at the end of it. And maybe it's because the course is struggling in the audit culture of higher education, where it takes so long to change a module. It has to go through committee after committee after committee before they can change one sentence. There's lots of reasons. And I'm often asked to come and talk to colleagues in other colleges about how I developed the sustainable curriculum in Amphi. And they'll say to me, but if I do that, there's all the rest of it still to do. Sustainability is so complex and so difficult. How do we do anything? So what we do is we just say to the students, well, you can do it if you want, but we're not going to teach you anything about it. Shocking. Now, digital fashion identities will be a new reality. Just as sustainability has to be as well. But digital fashion identities will be a new reality beyond the current concept of catwalks, photographer studios, models, sample sizes, etc., etc., etc. The blending of 3D virtual prototyping, AR, AI, RM, MR, VR, and all the other yet to be developed technologies will create levels of creativity and innovation beyond the current borders. Fabulous. New slide. Yeah. I would like to highlight 3 businesses which I think are examples of nascent digital fashion business models. And the Amphi Minor Hypercraft, which teaches students to work with 3D virtual prototyping. The 3 businesses can be seen to represent the kind of skills and/or mindset the fashion design students shall require in the future. And the Amphi Minor is an example of specific training to answer this skills demand. All 4 are questioning the current fashion system and presenting a more sustainable alternative for a future when digital clothing is commonplace and when people are spending as much on digital designer clothing as they are on analog items. So, Carlings. Now, I want to see whether I can open up this website thing. But it seems to have disappeared from my screen here. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's there. Oh, wow. Someone did it. That's fabulous. Thank you very much, God. It's amazing. There is a digital God. He's watching me. He's in the audience with you. So, Carlings, November 2018, the Scandinavian multi-brand retailer Carlings released its first digital collection. Anybody know about this? Anybody see it? Great. 19 genderless, sizeless pieces costing between 10 and 30 euros, nothing. Each with a limited production run of just 12. So customers supplied a photograph of themselves, which the designers from Carling then manipulated so it appeared like they were actually wearing the garment. And they hired several influencers to promote the collection on Instagram. And it sold out within 1 week. Now, the concept might sound a bit like a kind of marketing stunt. But why? If you think about it, gamers, for a long time, have been spending real money on just such things, on digital fashion. For example, companies like Glue Mobile, which is worth, I think, like 50, 60 million, which have a game called Covet Game. Kim Kardashian even, into this area as well, Kim Kardashian's Hollywood game, where you dress up avatars with clothes from Cavalli or Prada or whatever. And of course, The Sims. Does everybody know about The Sims? And The Sims, The Sims was first released in 2000. Before maybe some of you were born here. And has sold nearly 2 million copies worldwide. So it's been around for a long time. We just haven't been really using it very much in different areas. So Atakak. Now, Atakak are based in Gothenburg, and they are a 3D software company. And they use, they use 3D software such as Clo. Does anyone know Clo software? Yay! And Atakak creates realistic 3D virtual models of garments and sells them digitally online to customers without actually producing any samples at all. And therefore, if they don't produce samples, they don't carry any kind of production stock, and they have no risk of overproduction. So once they have the order, they make the garment in their own micro factory in Gothenburg, so it doesn't go anywhere. So the carbon footprint is very low. So they're ensuring a very transparent and very short supply chain with minimum carbon footprint. That I already said. I just jumped ahead of my lines. And the pricing structure is really interesting because they price it like you're buying an airline ticket. So the earlier you buy, the cheaper it is. And because they're keeping all the production chain in one place, it enables a kind of end-to-end process of only a few days, ensuring minimum waste and no overproduction. Very clever, very sustainable. Now let's see if we can get into this. Oh, did I do this? Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, I must have done it before. Now, I'm not quite sure how, is this on here now? Yeah, so it's really nice if I can move it. Let's see if this happens. Turn up the volume. I don't know how to do that. No, I can't. I'm useless with this kind of thing. I'm useless with technology. I like to talk about it, but I can't use it. Now, go into the website for Atakak, because it's wonderful that you can actually, maybe I can do this. No, it's just going around about his groin. No, it's you can actually move the screen so the avatars all move and you go into different rooms and things. So you've got a real experience, a real digital experience when you're looking at things to buy. It's, look, that's like how am I doing this? Is someone doing it for me? How's that happening? You see? Technology, fabulous. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. So you get the idea. Atakak, have a look at them. And Fabricant, my favorite, one of my graduates. And it's based in Amsterdam. And their core mission is to question the fashion system and set out to prove that when you detach from the physical world, you can be just as emotionally connected to clothing, which is presented in a digital form. Now, they produced the world's first digital couture dress, which they auctioned at a blockchain conference in New York last May, and it sold for $9,500. Now, it looks really real, but it's just a digital file. And now it hangs as a high-resolution picture with the owner in it, digitally tailored. Now let's see if I can get into this, their website. Oh, no, that's not worked. Oh, what's that? Where's that one? What's that? No, that's gone. Oh, bugger. No, that's not what I wanted. Well, that's the next slide. Okay, right. Right, let's try again. Someone else is doing this for me, I'm sure. I'm not doing it at all. I'm useless with this. Okay, let's see if anything works here. Yeah, okay, so you can see something moving. Yeah, and they're a young group, a young company, and they've got so much promotion about what they're doing. And I'm so proud of them. They're doing so well. They're really making waves in the industry. But look at this. I mean, this is an avatar. It's so real looking, isn't it? It's incredible. Just imagine what you can do with this technology. Fashion shows, selling samples. Burberry approached me last year or the year before, and they said, we cannot find enough graduates to come and work for us. We are changing the whole way that we're working. We're getting rid of all but one of our sample collections, and we're going to do everything virtually. And a lot of companies are following that line now. They need this kind of skill. Okay, let's move on. Okay, move on. Yeah, fabulous. So Hypercraft, which is the Amphi minor. And Hypercraft is, it's students in year 3 or 4 at Amphi can actually do this course. And they research and implement sustainable, well, cradle-to-cradle concepts through experimentation with 3D virtual prototyping. And they're supported by a teaching team who are experienced and experts in technical fabric research, digital pattern cutting, virtual prototyping, body scanning, CAD. And the idea is that the students use this technology like a creative tool, like a pencil almost. They bring their high fashion aesthetics and the technology together. And the aim is that they learn the digital skills while discovering new approaches and new ideas. And they experiment with the technology. And we've been running this minor for, I think, 11 years now. Let me see if I can get into the website. Oh, there we go. We've been running this minor for about 11 years now, and we continue to develop and expand and change it as we go along. And we started 11 years ago using Lectra. Does anybody know Lectra? Lectra software? Oh, yes, you're so good. So we started using Lectra 11 years ago, but Lectra is really very pattern-cutting orientated. And then Clo came along, and Clo's really much more user-friendly, and the students understood it much quicker. So we're using Clo as well now, and now we're also starting to use Browseware. Now, for a number of years, the students from Hypercraft, this minor, have also been collaborating with students in another minor, which is a VR minor, where students are learning all about VR. And they come together and they do something, they develop a project together. But last semester, Iris, whose work you see up here, Iris van Weesp, she started working with 3D virtual prototyping and AR. And another student in the same class started to combine AI with 3D virtual prototyping. So our students are already starting to build on and amplify these technologies. Now, Amphi is really quite unique in developing these skills with fashion students. And we've been doing it for 11 years, so it's a long time. We were really early adopters in this. But when our students who have done this minor want to look for a job in this area, they're 100% successful because there's not much competition out there. And I would say that in the last 3 years or so, there's been a significant shift in the industry in their attitudes towards investing in this kind of technology. And I would say it was on the same kind of trajectory as sustainability, actually. There's been such an increase, pressure and need to actually act on sustainability in the last 3 years. And as I said earlier about how Burberry have reached out to us for students, for graduates, and also Tommy Hilfiger, which is based in Amsterdam, they are going to go 100% digital in all their designing and all their fashion chain by 2025. So, in conclusion, fashion education does matter. It still matters, even if AI is coming along. Our voices must be heard because fashion education has the power to create change makers. But we have to take action. We have to take more action. We have to reconsider the current fashion system in order to develop a future-proof curriculum. A curriculum which should embrace emerging technologies. A curriculum which will ensure that these technologies are developed for a just and sustainable industry of the future. Thank you. Oh, yes, oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just about to go off the stage. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. I was working at IU Barcelona for 10 years in the fashion department. And I'm curious about how you see the future of the fashion education with the program that you do at your fashion school. Like, how do you digitalize fashion, or what is the program that you developed there?
Yeah, well, this is a program, Hypercraft, that we developed. But you have to invest a lot of money in getting the right machines and getting the right software and training people, and so you can't do it overnight. And that also is a hurdle for many universities who maybe are struggling with their budgets or haven't put budget towards that, and they put it off. But it is a big investment. But we invested in it. We had the vision and the forethought, the foresight to actually invest in it a long time ago. But also, like sustainability, we really invested in that in the curriculum. So it wasn't just, oh, let's start teaching them sustainability. What is that? Organic fabric. Oh, yeah, we'll just show them some organic fabric or whatever. We actually reached out to the industry, reached out to people who were involved in sustainable approaches like circular economy, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and asked them to come in and show us what to do. So to train the trainers. So of course that's an investment in time and thinking, but it's also planning. So I think it's about having a vision of where you want to go and why you want to do it, and then slowly make it happen, but it won't happen overnight.
Yeah, I really, how do I say, I connected with what you said, that the education is also a bit outdated and it's really hard to change things and to change the curriculum. Like, you see all these new technologies and all these new necessities, but to change anything is really, really complex, right?
It's really complex.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't tell you who it was, but I had a meeting maybe 2 years ago now with some a head of design of a very important UK college, very famous UK college. And I said to him, so what do you do about teaching your students sustainability? He said, oh, well, we don't. They can do it if they like, but we don't teach them anything.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, where are your computers? Where are the computers the students work on? He went, oh yeah, there's that room here. And there was like 3 computers in that room. My God.
Yeah.
It's shocking,
Yeah.
actually.
The change is coming.
A change is coming. A change has to come.
Yeah.
And because if it doesn't, then we're not helping the industry change, because we're not supplying young people with energy and experience and new ideas to help the industry change. We're just sending them the same copies of the same kind of people they've had before. Yeah.
Thank you.
You mentioned budget, so I'm pretty curious how much really less it could cost to create such a versatile thing as you demonstrated. So you mentioned that.
How much it would cost?
Yeah, maybe more or less, you know, the price of.
Yeah, I can't remember because it was so long ago, and I can't. I mean, you have to buy the right computers, the right. You have to buy the right hardware, the right computers to do this. So they have to be really high spec computers, and you know, if it depends on your class sizes, of course. So you know, our class sizes are like 25, 24, 25. So then you need to have that many in your room. And then you need to do a deal with a software manufacturer like Clo or Lecture or Browseware or wherever, that you can get their licenses free, but you have to pay for support. And the support's actually quite expensive. But these are the 2 main costs. The computers, how much that costs. And I mean, you think, well, you know, like a normal Apple MacBook costs 1,000 and something, you know, and a high spec, it must cost thousands. I really don't know. Okay. So it's significant.
So it's definitely 50, 100,000 in that area, or?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's expensive. Yeah.
It's expensive. Okay. But you know, it's all about collaboration and partnerships as well. So, you know, if you're sensible and clever about it, you see how you can get that software for nothing. You see what deals you can do with them. You know, it's with industry perhaps. Like we have a lot of collaborations with PVH, Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Karl Lagerfeld, because they're just up the road. So we're supplying them with graduates all the time. So these kind of industries should be taking more responsibility to help education supply the right skills.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi. So you talked a lot about, investing on software, hardware in advance for your classes in the school. And that was, at that time, I guess, your Horizon 3 on how you saw, indeed, fashion moving. And now it's actually becoming Horizon 2 and shifting to Horizon 1.
Yeah.
What's your next Horizon 3? Where do you think you will invest next?
Oh, that's a very good question. Wow. Well, I'm actually starting to research into AI in fashion education, because it shocked me so much seeing this AI and understanding what the potential was. I thought, well, I need to actually understand more about it. I think what we've done just now at Amphi with Hypercraft is really level 1, in the sense of teaching people how to use 3D virtual prototyping and having them translate their creativity through this software. I think level 2 is really teaching fashion design students how to work with something like AI. And how to make sure that we educate them to ensure that human values, as I said, is embedded in this, developing this technology, and also to understand that what position designers will have in the future with AI. And I think that's where the responsibility of fashion education in general comes in, that we have to work together on thinking about how together we're going to actually position ourselves with this tsunami, as I said, of technology coming towards us, which is really overwhelming and drowning. My fear, the worst thing is that it's just too much for fashion education. It's moving too fast so that they stick to the tried and tested kind of old version of fashion as it's always been. And I think that would be the death. And therefore the death of future fashion. Because it could easily shift into just this AI-orientated fast fashion with just a few artists on the side who are doing interesting things that you can put on Instagram. And the rest of it's fast fashion. Easily. The death of fashion. Lee Edelkoort, the Dutch trend forecaster, said, I think it was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, about the death of fashion. And that's what's happening.
Interesting, thank you.
Thank you. There's one more up here. So you just stay here until I answer the next one. Very last one. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your talk. I find it really, really interesting. And the question I have is to do with the relationship between sustainability and these new technologies, and how in Amphi do you kind of address that? Because I see often with the use of CLO, I use CLO in my research, and it's primarily used by industry as a replacement for the design development process and the early sampling, of garments and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of really innovative projects that you've pointed out towards dematerializing fashion, so digital garments and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. What I'm really interested in my own research, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, is how do you see the use of something like CLO and AI can support the development of the material side of sustainable fashion? Yeah,
so very quickly, I think that we have to choose that this will happen. I think that's really important, that we take action to make sure that this happens, that we don't let it go off by itself. That you can see that virtual prototyping can be used as a tool for sustainability quite easily because of a digital file that can be sent over the world, cutting the carbon footprint down, making things easier. But you can also see that all this technology can work towards a bigger fast fashion industry. And fast fashion, as I said yesterday, I don't think it's going to stop or slow down or anything, but we have to make it better. And I think that's where we have to embrace the technology. We have to embrace technology as a tool for sustainability and not as a tool for growth. Yeah? Okay, I better close off now. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.